Okay. All right, we are recording.
Do I have to
You have
say
to click
go?
on got
Got
it.
it. Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Hi, everybody who's here. Hi, Lynn. Hi, Jason. Hi, Cynthia. Hi, Joe. Yom Huledet Sameach to Joe. We prepared for class tonight and we went out to Scottsdale to a kosher meat restaurant, a new one that serves Mediterranean style Israeli food. And Joe had shawarma and I had schnitzel. So we were all ready to go.
That's right.
The only thing that was missing was like the Jerusalem or the Tel Aviv outside,
Right.
because we could have sat outside in Yerushalayim or Tel Aviv, but the waitresses were speaking Hebrew, so that kind of brought me back. It was a fun prep. Anyway, last week we went south to the Darom, the southern part of Israel, and this week we'll be traveling west, Yama. Yama means westward, which means toward the sea, in this case being the Mediterranean. Some of the places we'll stop, maybe a review from when we went north, but hopefully we will have added interesting details that we did not cover before. We'll be traveling north to south along the Mediterranean coast and at times going a bit inland. Okay, so now I have to do. Okay, and you can see on the map the area that we're basically covering. We're going a little further north, but along the coast. Okay. Okay. Hopefully some of you recognize that handsome young gentleman. Yes, he is. But let me get back to the beginning. We're starting our tour tonight on the Lebanese border up at Rosh HaNikra. We did Rosh HaNikra with the caves last couple weeks ago, but we're going to do Rosh HaNikra, the kibbutz, which operates tourist site and is as one of their industries. A point of interest. You can see the entrance to Rosh HaNikra. The sign on the left is the entrance to the kibbutz. It's obviously it's a lot of trees. It's really pretty. What I didn't know, one of its most famous residents was Sasha Baron Cohen, known for his role as a comical Borat as well as other things that he's done. He lived at Kibbutz Rosh HaNikra as a volunteer for a short period of time. Baron Cohen's mom, Daniela Naomi Cohen, born Weiser, was born in Israel to a family of German Jews who immigrated there. Okay, we're gonna go down the coast. Okay, we're gonna hit a bunch of kibbutzim tonight, but they're all a little different, and I find the kibbutzim very interesting just because they're similar in some respects, but different in other respects. These are scenes from Kibbutz Gesher Haziv, the Bridge of Splendor. It's located on the coastal highway between Naharia and the Lebanese border. It was founded in 1949 by American Zionist group Habonim. Habonim has huge Jewish youth groups in this country. My first ex-husband was a member of Habonim. And it was also founded by members of Kibbutz Beth Ha'arava. As you can see, they have beautiful places where people can stay. And if you sit out, you take a drink or some food out into their garden area, you can basically sort of see the sea from there. Next. Okay, now we're going to go to Naharia. I love Naharia. It's a little town down the coast from Rosh Hashanah. And the beach in Naharia is beautiful with rocky formations that you can dive under. I feel like you're almost scuba diving. You can also visit the Ghetto Fighters Museum, Lohamei HaGetaot Museum. It presents the story of the Jewish ghetto fighters during World War II. So, oh,
Yeah, there you go.
I forgot I had that. Sorry. Thank you. That's why I have people on payroll. I thought it was still part of that song. Okay. It presents the story of the Jewish ghetto fighters during World War II and their valiant struggle against Nazi occupation. They go through all of Nazi occupation, Jewish populated cities in Eastern Europe. If you just want a nice few hours of walking around, you can visit the Naharia Botanical Gardens and Zoo. Okay, the building you're seeing is the museum. Ooh.
That's aqueduct.
Oh yeah, that's the aqueduct. Oh, see page 4 for the aqueduct. Oh. I'm skipping around a little bit. Alongside the kibbutz are extensive remains of an aqueduct, which until 1948 supplied water to Akko, some 6 kilometers away. The aqueduct was originally built at the end of the 18th century by a guy named Jezar Pasha, an Ottoman ruler of Akko, but it was completely rebuilt by his successor Suleiman in 1814. I just happened to find these little things kind of interesting. The fact that it is in such great shape and it's from a long time ago says something for people in the land, present and past, keeping up sites that were pretty amazing. Oh, yay. If you want to relax in Naharia, and a place to stay with a bit more amenities, you could plunk down a few dollars and go to the Sea Life Boutique and Spa Hotel. Nice, relaxing hot rock massage, beautiful pool and spa, and obviously lovely, lovely kibbutz breakfast. Okay, we are going. Oh yay. Some of you may be asking, what is the difference between a moshav and a kibbutz? On a kibbutz, mostly everything used to be communal, including childcare and things like that. It's eased off a bit, but meals are still a good bit communal. And they're mostly agriculturally based, although some have some industry. Moshavim were collective settlements, collective villages, similar to a kibbutz, but they were not quite as communal as the kibbutzim. Each person had owned their own piece of land, and they got together to do things for the settlement, agriculture and whatever else they were doing. This particular place is Shabbat Zion, and it's a moshav shitufi, similar to a kibbutz, a little south of Naharia. It offers several different places to stay within a short trip to beautiful beaches. It's one of the new vacation experiences is the house by the sea, which you can see sticking out, brand new architecture. And I find architecture interesting. That's very interesting architecture. And there's a simple walk down to the beach, which you can see in the bottom slide. Traveling south from Shabbat Zion, hold on a second. It's Lohameh Getaot kibbutz, founded by Holocaust survivors in 1949. It's on the site of an abandoned British base and a depopulated Palestinian village. Its founding members included surviving members of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, as well as former members of the Jewish partisans and other Holocaust survivors. The name of the kibbutz commemorates the Jews who fought the Nazis. In the mid-1980s, the kibbutz acquired the Tival vegetarian foods product factory, which has become a mainstay for its economy. They also produce dairy products, and there's also a bed and breakfast at this kibbutz. The kibbutz all. Let's go.
This is slide 9.
This is slide 9. Why did it say slide 8? Oh, all right.
Oh, here you have this.
Okay. We're going to go to Bustan HaGalil, Orchard of the Galilee, which is another moshav near Akko. There are beautiful views from the shoreline of Bustan HaGalil, with some sandy beaches with real interesting looking rocks you can see in the top. I'm real into rock formations. I used to collect rocks as a kid. And that's a picture down there of a view of the moshav. I'm going to go ahead. Oh, wow. Okay. So, although our tour to the north of Israel included Akko in our first trip, I'd like to add some sites. We're going to stop in some other places in Akko that I've never been, but they really look interesting. The El Jazeera Mosque was named for a Bosnian governor of that area. I didn't even know the Bosnians came down that far, but apparently they took over. And there's a whole archaeological site underneath Akko.
Just curious.
He was governor from 1776 until 1804, his death, which is real interesting. I found that fascinating because who knew people from Bosnia came down that far? I mean, I knew Bosnia Herzegovina was part Muslim, but didn't know that they had gone actually that far south.
Mhm.
Let me go
Yeah,
to this.
one.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
pushing the wrong one.
Yeah.
Okay. The other interesting thing that I found in Akko, which I'm not sure I ever visited, although I might have, but I think they've improved it since, is the underground prisoners museum in Old Akko, and it's a memorial museum in memory of the members of the Jewish underground imprisoned at Akko prison during the British Mandate period. It's operated by the Ministry of Defense and has an innovative display depicting the circumstances of the underground fighters' incarceration, their life in prison, and the story of the Akko prison breakout, which I think was what Leon Uris fashioned his story in Exodus around. The tour highlights the core values during the time of the underground fighters, being Zionism and a love of the land, heroism and sacrifice. Ooh, yay, more rocks. Sandy, obviously, realize now that Sandy likes rocks and ruins. The remains or the ruins of a Crusader period in Pisan Harbor are also an interesting archaeological site. King Richard I conquered Akko after a siege in 1104 during the First Crusade. Not exactly good time for the Jews. It would soon be known as St. John de Acre, after the Knights Hospitaller of St. John, who were headquartered there. The King's Palace was also located in the northern part of Akko. You can see some of the remains of that. Akko was the final stronghold of the Crusades against the Muslim forces when the city was capitulated to the Mamluk Muslims in 1291. We're going on. More kibbutzim. Oh. Kiryat Yam, which I also haven't visited, is a city in the Haifa Bay area, just 7 miles north of Haifa. It's one of a group of Haifa suburbs known as the Kiryat. The area was acquired by the Jewish community as part of the Surah Purchase, in which a large tract of land was purchased from the Surah family of Beirut by the American Zionist Commonwealth in 1925. The Surah family of Beirut, who were Muslim Arabs, sold a bunch of land in that area to American Jews, in this case, the American Zionist Commonwealth. In 1928, the Bayside Land Corporation, a joint venture of Palestine Economic Corporation and the Jewish National Fund, acquired residential land in a deal related to the building of the IPC oil pipeline. You can sort of see the pipeline up here and some of the shoreline there and some of the town there. Development of residential area started in 1949, with the first houses completed in 1940. The city is home to immigrants from the former USSR, North Africa, and Ethiopia. Obviously, a very mixed town with a lot of cultural heritages from all over the world. During the 2006 Lebanon War, Kiryat Yam was hit by Hezbollah rockets and suffered casualties and property damage. But they've obviously rebuilt very nicely. Okay. Our next stop down the coast is Kiryat Moltskin. This city is just 5 miles north of Haifa. It was named after this I did not know, after a guy named Leo Moltskin, one of the organizers of the first Zionist Congress in 1897. The picture here is of Chaim Nachman Bialik. Kiryat Bialik is one of the 5 Kiryot on the suburbs of Haifa. It was named for Chaim Nachman Bialik. You can see a picture of the kibbutz. Looks like it's not such a great day or the sun setting. Chaim Nachman Bialik was a Jewish poet who primarily wrote in Hebrew, but also in Yiddish. He was one of the pioneers of modern Hebrew poetry and part of the vanguard of Jewish thinkers who gave voice to a new breath of Jewish life in Israel. Ooh. This is one I did not know about, Kiryat Ata, also known as Kfar Ata, also one of the city suburbs north of Haifa. In the early Bronze Age, there was a site at Kiryat Ata near Usha, and it has been extensively excavated since 1990. Also at Kiryat Ata is the Fisher House, home of Yehoshua Fisher, one of the pioneers and leaders of Kfar Ata Jewish community. It was refurbished in the 19th century, and the building houses the Municipal Museum of Kiryat Ata. You can kind of see the building there and the rest of the town.
They can't see where you're pointing.
Oh,
Exactly. I
okay.
didn't see that.
Top left.
Top left. Top left is a view of the some of the building on the kibbutz and the city, and bottom right is a building of some of the old houses and the municipal museum. Oh. And we're moving a little bit further south now to Kiryat Tivon. Kiryat Tivon is situated 15 kilometers southeast of Haifa on the main road to Nazareth. We're now going south of Haifa. We're skipping over Haifa because that will cover under our cities later on. An ancient town called Tivon existed in the general area. The town is best known for the national park, Bet She'arim, which borders on it in the southwest. Bet She'arim was an important Jewish spiritual center and necropolis during the Roman period, and was once the seat of the Sanhedrin, the ruling court of ancient Israel. You might remember that the court had to flee Jerusalem and set itself up in further east. The symbol of Kiryat Tivon, and that's inside some of the ruins there. But the symbol of Kiryat Tivon is a cyclamen, the flower that grows between the rocks, reflecting the town's appreciation of nature and its effort to preserve the landscape and safeguard the environment. And Haifa sits at the bottom of the Bay of Haifa and is one of the largest cities in Israel and a major port. We'll cover that under the cities of Israel.
Picture the port next though.
And But I like and Haifa is amazing because when I first visited it, it was not, it was a big port, but did not look the way it looks now. Haifa is also real interesting because it's a city that was built going up a hill. You can see that there are apartments all the way up the hill. Upper left-hand corner and down at the bottom, you can see the harbor, very busy harbor. Ships coming in, unloading things, cruise ships coming in.
Like Jerome.
Jerome, Arizona?
Yeah, up a hill.
That's
Up,
right.
up a hill, yeah.
Right.
Everything's up the hill in Haifa.
Sure.
My cousin, when he moved out of Kiryat Shimona, moved halfway up the hill in Haifa, but we'll get back to that later. Okay. As I said on Shabbos, anybody who was there, the Carmel area of Israel is real important. A lot of the biblical stories happened there. The story with Eliyahu last weekend happens there. Tirat Carmel, or Tirat HaCarmel, is a city south of Haifa, overlooking the Carmel forest. I think we get a good view of the forest here. The Carmel region of Israel is coastal and an inland mountainous section of the country. I always like to see the forests in Israel because it requires water and required a lot of people planting a lot of trees at one time in the early history of Israel. And the forests up there have also been plagued with forest fires lately. Ooh, yay. This is a picture of Atlit. It's a coastal town south of Haifa. Off the coast of Atlit is a submerged Neolithic village. Atlit was also a Crusader outpost, which fell to the Mamluks in 1291. Atlit Castle is an archaeological site, and you can sort of see some of the castle. If you look in the middle of the picture, there are remains of part of the castle. Also, if you look far to the right, that probably was some kind of a tower for the castle. Ooh. Nachsholim, south of Atlit, is at the foot of the ancient city of Tel Dor, Nachsholim, and also Dor Beach. The beach itself is characterized by a lagoon with crystal clear waters formed by a natural rock break in the water and islands all around it. You get a good view of that if you look at the right-hand side of the picture. And the left-hand side of the picture is just a mural from the ancient city. Yay. We're going to somewhere where I went on my first trip to Israel. Most of the teen tours come here, some of the adult tours. Casalia, named for Caesar, obviously, was an ancient Roman city later conquered by the Crusaders. It's believed that Casalia was initially founded atop the ruins of what's now called Stratton's Tower, a 3rd century BCE port city. It has an ancient Roman amphitheater, which is an amazing site to visit. Remember, as a teen, one of the things that it was fun to do, even though our guide told us not to do, was running up and down the aisles and the seats and sitting down and pretending we were watching some ancient Roman play. You know what? All this traveling has made me a little thirsty. I don't have any wine, but let's go just a little inland, off the coast from Casalia. And we find Zichron Yaakov, meaning Jacob's Memorial, often shortened just to Zichron. It was founded in December 1882, when 100 pioneers from Romania, members of the Kibbutzim movement, purchased 2 plots of land 5 kilometers apart. The original Carmel Mizrahi winery continues to make wine in Zichron Yaakov. While the majority of the citizens of the town would consider themselves as secular, there's a sizable religious community in town, including many Haredi Jews, members of Or Yaakov Yeshiva, and members of the Chabad Lubavitch community. In addition, there are several religious Zionist synagogues. The town is unique in that it also has a progressive reform and conservative Jewish communities and synagogues. The former Kiryat Moltskin, Jacob's Ladder community, is a synagogue that practices progressive Judaism as known in the United States, Reform Judaism, and is part of the Israel movement for progressive Judaism. The Ve'ahavta synagogue practices conservative Judaism and is a part of the Masorti movement. Let's go ahead. Oops. Going down the coast is Givat Olga Hadera. Givat Olga was a small residential part of Hadera, which was a larger town, about 28 miles from Tel Aviv, and just south of Haifa. About 5 miles of Israeli Mediterranean, along the 5 miles of Israeli Mediterranean coastal plain. The city's population includes a high proportion of immigrants arriving since the 1990s, notably from Ethiopia and the USSR. Hadera was established in 1891 as a farming colony by members of the Zionist movement Hovevei Zion from Lithuania and Latvia. By 1948, it was a regional center, and in 1952 was declared a city. If you visit the city, you can spend time at the Nahal Hadera Park, a eucalyptus forest. Hopefully you can see the eucalyptus trees. I wouldn't know a eucalyptus tree if I bumped into it, but those are apparently eucalyptus trees. The Hadera paper, established in 1953, continues to be a major employer for the city. It's also the world's largest salinization plant of that type was inaugurated in December 2009. Hadera is also the location of the Olat Rabin power plant, Israel's largest power plant station. The hot gushing water from the power plant draws hundreds of sandbar and dusky sharks every winter. Now, probably not a great idea, but to change the environment. But scientists are researching this rare phenomenon, which is unknown in the vicinity. It is speculated that water, which is 10 degrees warmer than the rest of the Mediterranean Sea, may be the attraction. We're gonna and we pulled the shark out for you. Obviously they're They're doing some research on the shark.
Oh, that one's totally tame, right?
Oh, that one's totally tame. Or he's being extremely careful. Better him than me. Okay. And the next city to the south is Natanya. It's one of my personal favorite beach towns. Joe and I went there on a beach excursion, our last trip there, and then went out to lunch. We were very surprised to find a lovely beachside restaurant where the menus were in Hebrew and French. Our French and Hebrew speaking waitstaff was a young lady from Vietnam. Didn't know that that now Natanya has a large Vietnamese population, but it also has French Jews coming to Natanya since the 2000s and 2010s. What I did not know from my research was that Natanya was named for a man whose picture you can see in the top left. And it was named for a man named Nathan or Nathan Strauss. He lived from 1848 to 1931, and he was one of the initial co-owners of Macy's department store. Oh, those of you from the East Coast probably know Macy's. In 1928, members of B'nai Binyamin and Hanoteg, an organization set up after Strauss was informed of the establishment of the settlement, purchased 350 acres of land from a man named Khalid. The city of Natanya was a port for illegal immigrants smuggled into the country between 1934 and 1939, with many Jews fleeing Hitler's Europe. Over 17 ships landed near Natanya, being aided by the city's residents, who would be informed when the ships were landing and come out to the beach and basically run into the water and take people off the boats. Our next stop down the road is the city of Ra'anana in the southern Sharon Plain. It was founded in 1922 as an American Jewish settlement. While the majority of its residents are Sabras, native-born Israelis, a large part of the population consists of immigrants from America and Europe. Shuli Natan, who sang Yerushalayim Shel Zahav, Jerusalem of Gold, and she's well known for that, was from Ra'anana. Okay. In 1912, the Company for Jewish Settlement in Israel formed AHVZA, a New York group to purchase land in Palestine for an agricultural settlement. World War I delayed the plans, but in 1921, it was decided to establish a settlement. And on April 2nd, 1922, 2 wagons carrying Achuza members, laborers, and 2 armed watchmen took the 5-hour journey north of Tel Aviv And at the place that they unloaded their baggage, they established the town of Ra'anana. In its earliest days, the settlement was called Achuza'e, New York. The Arabs of the region called it Little America, as most of its residents were English speakers from New York. Probably a big surprise for the Arabs who didn't quite know what to do with these guys. It was later renamed Ra'anana. In the 1980s, it was given city status, and Ra'anana's residents are significantly native-born Israelis, although there are a large number of immigrants from other English-speaking countries, and a large number of immigrants now from South America, largely Argentina. And the city absorbed a large number of immigrants from the former USSR. So it's a big mix of different people. The number of French-speaking immigrants is also on the rise. And as I said before, Shuli Natanya lived in Ra'anana. She's best known for her interpretation of Yerushalayim Shel Zahav by the artist Naomi Shemer, Zichronah Livracha. Okay, we're going down the coast. Okay, we're going down the coast to the town of Portsolia. It's an affluent city just north of Tel Aviv. It was named after Theodor Herzl, a founding member of Zionism. Nice picture of Herzl, a good picture of Portsolia. It's got a great beach. I've been to a lot of beaches in Israel. It is mostly residential, but it's got a gorgeous beach. And also the Apollonia National Park, a seaside park with a lot of rock formations. I just like the fact that you can walk from the end of town right out onto the beach and just park yourself down and have a lovely day. Going down the shore, Petach Tikva, meaning opening of hope, better known as In HaMoshavot, is the mother of Kibbutzim. It's 6.6 miles east of Tel Aviv. It was founded in 1878, mainly by ultra-Orthodox Jews of the old Yishuv, the settlement after Aliyah to Israel. It became a permanent settlement in 1883 with the help of Baron Edmund de Rothschild. We'll see Rothschild coming up in a lot of our travels around Israel. He did a lot to help fund places in Israel. Many single Israelis consider Petach Tikva boring, but when they get married, they seek homes there because it's a lovely community to live in. Petach Tikva also has some of the best medical facilities in the Middle East, including Schneider, the best and biggest children's hospital in the region. Medical tourism to Petach Tikva is popular, especially from the former USSR. I have to tell you that I spent several delightful Shabbatot with my son Ronen at his friend's house in Petach Tikva, and it's a great place to walk around. There are a lot of, this is downtown where there was a lot of industry, but there's also in the residential parts, beautiful parks and lovely places to walk. We're going to go back to Tel Aviv. Bnei Brak is a city just east of Tel Aviv, and it's a center for Haredi Judaism. It's one of the poorest and most densely populated cities in Israel. Bnei Brak's name comes from the ancient biblical town of Bnei Brak, mentioned in the Tanakh in Joshua, in a long list of towns within the allotted settlement of the tribe of Dan. The modern city of Bnei Brak was founded by as an agricultural village by 8 Polish Hasidic families as part of the fourth Aliyah. It was founded 4 kilometers from the original biblical site. However, the residents coming from Poland had little agricultural experience. So when they tried to cultivate citrus, they failed miserably. So they went to other occupations. One of the main landmarks in Bnei Brak, believe it or not, is a Coca-Cola bottling plant, which has had the Israeli franchise for Coca-Cola products since 1968. That I did not realize. I mean, you go to Israel and you can get lots of Coca-Cola and no Pepsi, but I didn't realize that the franchise had been there since 68. Also in Bnei Brak for many years was a Dubek cigarette factory and the Osem food factory. Bnei Brak, being a religious town, has a twin city in Lakewood, New Jersey, which also has a large Orthodox Jewish population. At one point along the line, Joe and I did a favor to a young lady who was stranded, didn't have a ride back to Lakewood, and we took her from Kennedy Airport all the way back to Lakewood, New Jersey, which was like an hour out of our way, and then we went back up to where we lived in Richwood. In the 1980s and 1990s, the Israeli diamond manufacturing industry employed between 25,000 to 35,000 expert workers in the cities of Ramat Gan, Natanya, and Bnei Brak. The industry has since moved to other places in the Far East. Okay. But the Osem factory is still there. Okay. For tonight, we're going to skip Tel Aviv and come back to it during a future class. I'm saving modern cities of Israel for future class. For right now, let's go south to Rishon LeZion. It was founded in 1882 by 10 Cholavei Zion pioneers from Kharkiv, Ukraine, then in the Russian Empire, and headed by Zalman David Levontin. In addition to problems posed by sandy soil and no water, the newcomers had no agricultural experience. And good old Baron de Rothschild brought in experts who drilled for water and found it even though the groundwater table was uneven. Wells were built in 1885. And the Israeli flag was raised for the first time as a part of the 3rd anniversary for the village. In 1889, the building in which the Carmel Mizrahi winery is located was built. Rishon LeZion's main industries today are wine, obviously, construction, services, and commerce. Yay. Oh. We're going further south to Rehovot, south of Rishon LeZion. It was established in 1890 by pioneers of the first Aliyah from Warsaw, Poland. Rehovot has many prosperous citrus groves, and the Ayalon Institute's fascinating story about a top secret operation which happened between the end of World War II and Israel Independence Day. On Kibbutzim Hill, north of Rehovot, a clandestine bullet factory was built underground. The plant was The plant was codenamed the Iron and Lawn Institute by the members of the Haganah. There's also there's also a science park in Rehovot, and the Weitzman Institute of Science is one of the world's most leading multidisciplinary institutes for basic research and the natural sciences. It's named for Chaim Weitzman, whose picture you can see on top, the first president of Israel, and it's also located in Rehovot. Oh, yeah. Yavna, a little farther down the coast, is considered the most significant site for post-biblical Jewish history. After the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, Rabban Yochanan ben Zakkai moved the Sanhedrin and the Jewish court and a place of study to Yavna. The process started in Yavna was essential for the adaptation of Judaism to a new situation where there was no more central temple in terms of laws, calendar, liturgy, and becoming the basis for Jewish practice throughout the years. I'm moving. Ooh.
Oh, we're almost done.
Oh, yay! One of my best personal experiences in 1965 when I went on Israel pilgrimage was a week at Kvutzat Yavna, the religious kibbutz outside of the town. In 1965, we spent a week there, and I learned to pick olives, wearing a skirt and a hat, because it was a religious kibbutz. Young ladies had to wear skirts. I had a pleasant experience with olives and have had a pleasant experience ever since. And if you want to learn how to pick olives, I can show you. Okay, bing. What time is it?
8, 1 minute. We got like 2 slides left.
Okay, we're going to go to Ashdod, a little south of Yavna. It's the 6th biggest city and the largest port in Israel. I knew it was the largest port in Israel, but I didn't know it was the 6th biggest city. It has grown sizably and even has outsized Haifa. When I first came to Israel, Ashdod was just being developed. It's south of Tel Aviv and north of Ashkelon. Ashdod in biblical times was a Canaanite fortified city that was then invaded by the Philistines. Very strategic spot, obviously. It is now considered Israel's most important port with access for goods to all other parts of Israel, especially Jerusalem. Most goods that are coming in come in through Ashdod. Okay. I'm going to get very sad now, because this is one of the places that I really like to visit. We'll conclude tonight with a visit to Ashkelon, only 18 kilometers north of the border of Gaza. The city is the northern terminus for the Trans-Israel Pipeline, bringing petroleum products from Eilat and oil to the terminal port. You can sort of see the pipeline on the lower left. The Ashkelon seawater reverse osmosis, SWRO, desalination plant is the largest in the world. Outside of industry and history, Ashkelon also has some of the most gorgeous beaches in Israel. It is really beautiful. The water is calm and warm, and a lot of people visit the beach.
That's last slide.
Last slide.
I'm gonna stop recording.
Okay.